Hi everyone, and thanks for being with me. I just wanted to post something which I came upon today, which I found somewhat interesting, fascinating in fact, and that is that there's a cookers convention going on in Brisbane as of tomorrow. And I wanted to advertise this because it's always a pleasure to know where the crazies are all at one particular time. So tomorrow from about 6:30 onwards, you'll find them somewhere in Brisbane on the South Bank, I think, at a convention. And I just wanted to highlight those people that are going to be there because they are the crazies of the craziest. And it's really important for us to understand who they are and what they're all about to some extent. Now, I won't highlight all of them because basically you will know some of these dudes, but this is their brochure, their pamphlet, their leaflet, their advertising form, which tells us a little bit about who they are and particularly what they're about. Now, I don't need to say anything more apart from the fact that they all are conspiracy theorists to start with. Now, you'll know some of them. Senator Babbitt, you'll probably know, even though we don't hear all that much about him. He was with the Clive Palmer Senate candidate, and I think he's still in power. I'm not too sure, but I think so. Even though the United Australia Party have been basically disbanded and so on. But nevertheless, there is also Senator Roberts, and there's the ex-MP Craig Kelly as well, and Stephen Andrew. I don't know much about Stephen Andrew, didn't look him up, couldn't be bothered. But some of the others I did, so that we could get a sense as to who specifically they are and who's going to be attending this wonderful, wonderful event. So I started with a bloke by the name of, I've got Ralph Babbitt's here as well. Now, the thing about Ralph Babbitt's that interests me, which I thought I would just share with you, is that Ralph, in all his wisdom, sent a letter to Donald Trump expressing his delight that Donald Trump is standing for the presidential election in 2024. And that here in Australia, apparently, we're grossly disappointed in the Biden administration, and we're cheering on the possibility that Donald Trump will be, and potentially will be, I guess, the next president of the United States for his second time. So what did he have to say? Well, the letter apparently was quite gushing. It says here, pleased to see the former president run again for the White House and wish you every success. Now, the reason why we know about this letter is because it was published on Truth Social, which should be Untruth Social, but nevertheless, that's what he's decided to call it. So be encouraged that you have many friends in Australian Parliament, not least of all me, says Babbitt, who will be cheering you on in the presidential campaign. And he's got a copy of the letter here. And he also asserts his contempt for current US leader Joe Biden. I've always been a great admirer of the United States. Well, good on you, buddy, because not many of us are these days. And that's not just about Biden, that's just because you're a shitty political system. But to see the deterioration in America over the past 4 years has been truly heartbreaking. Well, I would suggest that the previous 4 years has been, well, over the last 4 years is an interesting way of looking at it, because for 2 of those years, or for at least 1 of those years, I guess, Donald Trump was president. So I don't know what assertion he's making there. I don't know actually when he sent this. So it was September the 8th by the look of things. But watching the way the Biden administration has brought the US into disrepute around the world through weak leadership, both at home and abroad, has been devastating for lovers of freedom everywhere. The gushing letter comes as Mr. Trump faces federal prosecution for alleged attempting to overturn the 2020 US election. As we all know, there's 91 indictments against the man. He's obviously a pillar of society, loved by all, hated by the majority, but possibly may win the next federal election, which is a bit distressing, really. It says here, Mr. Babbitt brushed off the allegations of his letter, asserting he was confident the American people would see through all of that, whatever that is. And that is the obstruction cases and all the other other indictments. Australia may be a long way from the United States geographically, but we are not that far removed from terms of the issues you face. I believe it is not only in the US interest for you to be in the White House, but it is in the interest of freedom-loving people everywhere. Well, what a load of bullshit. But that's the person that they're going to have. That's one of them that they're going to have. This is Senator Babbitt that they're going to have at this particular meeting. Sounds exciting. The other couple of people that I found interesting is this particular dude. So this is a guy who calls himself an independent journalist. You'll find him on Rebel News if you ever want to look it up, which is an extremely right-wing Canadian organisation. But nevertheless, that's where he features a lot. So a controversial far-right activist has pulled out of a legal fight with Facebook fact-checking service after claiming it defamed him by accusing him of spreading misinformation. Now, this dude, I won't run through it all, but it was all over the COVID lockdown in Victoria, and this particular dude wound up losing his particular case. But that's just where he's at. He's a anti-COVID, anti-vaccine, anti-everything, anti-establishment, anti-politics, anti-whatever. This is where he's coming from, and this was to do with the Shrine of Remembrance, I believe, and that false information post. Independent fact checkers say that this post includes false information. It will include a notice saying that it's false. Are you sure you want to share it to others? That's the warning provided by Facebook and RMIT. Also checked the information. Saying that there was an accusation that the Chief Executive Officer of the Shrine of Remembrance fabricated some information, and it was proved that he hadn't. And so this particular dude decided to take them to court. Now he has an interesting history, actually, because it appears. And I haven't read the book, so he's written a book. I tried to check on how many people have actually ever read this book. It ranges from some sites from $69 down to $20, down to free on Kindle. So it suggests he's not making all that much money from the book, but he had a pretty tough upbringing, and he is an Israeli who served in the Israeli Defense Forces and is pro-Israel. As a result of that, he's been interviewing people at the rallies, the pro-Israeli rallies and also the pro-Palestinian rallies, and doing his thing, telling us all what we need to know about how terrible everybody else is apart from the Israeli government, who are busy bombing the shit out of Gaza at this particular point in time. Now, the other person I just wanted to mention here was this particular dude, who is Morgan Jonas. Now, I'm only highlighting this because I don't expect any of you to necessarily go and attend any of these gatherings, or this particular gathering on Saturday. But I do want to point out the fact that all of these dudes are really super crazy people. There's another one here, Renee Leaves. And so you see Renee Eves, I think that picture of her is probably 20 years old, incidentally. But I might be corrected on that if someone wishes to do so. But some of these people, or all of them actually, have got extreme right-wing views. And, you know, if you want to go in that direction, that's fine. But they're not accomplishing much at all. But they are trying desperately to convince us that their version of the truth is the truth. And Morgan Jonas, who's an independent candidate in Victoria, he gathered a large following as a prominent anti-lockdown, again, anti-vaccine Australian Man Out campaigner through 2021, and is engaged to reignite democracy. Australia founder Monica Smith. I'm surprised Monica isn't talking on this, but I did hear an allegation that Monica is no longer engaged to Morgan. So for what it's worth, but it's only an allegation, don't know, just gossip, who gives a shit. Yesterday, Neil Mitchell asked. So he had an interview with Neil Mitchell, and Neil was pretty tough on him apparently, and as a result of that, Jonas got a wee bit pissed off. He was asked. I know that Neil is unkind and is very asked. Oh, that's right. He was asked if he was responsible for urinating on the shrine, and he got a bit taken aback by that. He may have been. We don't know, but nevertheless, it's only an allegation, and it probably may not be true. I know that Neil is unkind at the best of times, but I was actually shocked he would say such a thing. I already highlighted how low he is willing to go in order to take his guests off guard. Well, man, if you ever listened to Neil Mitchell, you know this is what he bloody does. So I would suggest that if you're a right-winger or in politics generally, or attempting to get into politics, and you go on the Neil Mitchell show, you're going to get canned, and he's going to ask you some embarrassing questions, and if you haven't got the answers, you're kind of Fruit Looped. But so he didn't expect any of this. Neil, here's the truth: you're an arrogant loser, and nobody respects you. Oh, this is really helpful shit. You know, this is what you should say. This is what you should say to the person whose show you're on, and you're the guest. Neil, here's the truth. You're an arrogant loser and nobody respects you. The best thing you can do is get off the air and stop disgracing yourself. Your career is done. And so that's the way it goes. And it goes on. Anyway, so I won't bother boring you too much with all of that. What I did want to talk about primarily is that there's this movement now which, in my humble view, is gathering a lot of steam. And, I speak to people about cookers and some of the crazy things that they're doing. And people say, well, they're just a fringe group. And maybe so, but we must remember there have been some of this fringe group have actually got into Parliament, which is Roberts, Babbitt, Craig Kelly. Then on the other, we've also got One Nation, which are as crazy as they come. We've got those group of people there as well. So my belief is that they're slowly infiltrating and they're gathering momentum, and that unless we're really careful, this particular group will be the Trumpists of Australia, as was evident from that Babbitt declaration of loyalty to Donald Trump. So this is what will be happening, and we'll notice more and more, unfortunately, that the right wing, not the extreme, but the moderate right wing, the Duttons of this world and so forth, will become further and further extreme, because this is the sort of politics that tends to be working. So they think. It isn't. It will eventually be destroyed. It will fall. It will fail, because at the end of the day, these people don't give a shit about the general population. They only care about their minor interests and those wacky theories, QAnon theories and beliefs that they have that never ever come true anyway. And so they're not really taking care of the normal average person. They're not interested in improving the conditions of people that live in outer suburbs of Adelaide and other cities. They're more interested in what they can get out of it, and particularly, I think, they're interested in the personal sense of gratification they get from being recognised and being seen as important. And the best example I've got of that is David Guru Campbell. I hate using the word guru. He's far from a guru. It's a misnomer. But anyway, people like David Campbell and the people that he has on his Facebook, Rumble and whatever other shows he's got are all indicators of where these people are heading and how much they're influencing people to be able to side with their views, to persuade people who don't think about things logically. They're encouraging them to think about things in such a radical, misinformed, disinformed way, by which they will encourage people to start to take action, which, as we see in the United States, often will become violent. And so stand back, watch, let's see what's going to happen. But I can assure you that at the end of the day, this is not going to be good for anyone. So if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, please do so. Ring the bell for further notifications, and make sure that you look after yourselves and particularly keep yourself and your family safe.